And now we bring you the final installment in our higher education series. Over the last month, we've heard stories about how students and institutions have been upended by the pandemic. Tonight, we take a more hopeful look at students who have been inspired by the events of the last year and returned to school. Hari Srinivasan has this report for our series, Rethinking College.
Graduation day at Howard University. Student Amari Anthony started her senior year in the middle of the pandemic, and this day was not guaranteed.
I had some doubts sometimes. I really did. We didn't find out that we were having an in-person graduation until the last week of March. So initially, I was thinking that I was going to be, on Zoom in my bedroom at home, walking that way.
Anthony majored in journalism and not too long ago hoped to begin a career as an investigative journalist. But in the midst of this unprecedented year, something changed for her.
I just felt like, there was a lot of people raising awareness, and there was a lot of people, studying and researching and willing to talk about what was going on, but there weren't enough people who were able to or willing to act at the time. And I felt like that's what I really had to do.
So after 4 years of college, instead of looking for jobs, she decided to start on a completely new career path. This fall, she'll be going back to Howard to begin a master's program in social work.
There's not enough people who feel empowered to be able to act on what is going on right now. Everyone feels like things are out of their control. A lot of people felt helpless. A lot of people felt alone. And I think that I really enjoy working with people and being able to empower them to solve their own issues and come up with their own solutions to what they're facing.
For Anthony, part of it was seeing the effects of the pandemic firsthand.
I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, my grandfather got laid off, and he's older, so he was working past retirement age anyways, and he had started going to the food bank, and he would have to sit in the food bank line for hours to be able to get food. And he wasn't even as, high need as other people were.
Then came the murder of George Floyd. Anthony took part in the massive social justice movement that followed and watched the conviction of Derek Chauvin last month. But in the reactions, she saw how much work still needs to be done.
Okay, this one person has been punished for the wrong thing that they did. But it's not about one person. It's very clearly not about one person. It's not only a culture, but it's also structures and systems that we have in place that need to be changed, and it's life or death. And George Floyd really cemented that in my mind.
About 1,000 miles away, Zachary Witten lives on his family's farm in Laneville, Texas. Population 1,193. He was born and raised here, but spent the last decade traveling around the country. Back in 2008, he graduated from junior college with a degree in psychology, but felt like continuing education wasn't for him. This last year sparked something in him as well.
There are a lot of cracks that I feel were exposed during the election and during the pandemic that I feel need to be addressed and have not been addressed.
Because of Laneville's isolation, Witten has been fortunately spared much of the effects of the pandemic. But he was not spared from the political upheaval unfolding in the country. Much of it was playing out right in front of his eyes on Facebook.
One of the things that really concerned me was the amount of misinformation and ignorance in the literal sense of the word, that was out there.
Witten had always been interested in politics, but for the first time, he felt compelled to get more actively involved. Last fall, he returned to school at the University of Texas Tyler with the hope of getting a bachelor's degree in politics next year. He's hoping that with this formal education and his unique blend of experiences, he will be able to bridge the political divisiveness and stem the misinformation that he's seeing.
I have a rural background. I have a Hispanic background. I've traveled around quite a bit and been exposed to a bunch of different cultures. And so I'm hoping that talking to them, telling them about my story and telling them about my experiences, and then listening to their experiences and making them kind of realize that there's not that much difference between different people.
Witten admits he could have just as easily stayed where he was, but now was the time to act.
I'm hoping to essentially be the change that you want to see in the world. As a country, we're at a point where these things need to be dealt with, or, who knows what's going to happen.
For Amari Anthony back in Washington, D.C., the decision to go back to school was also a bit of a leap.
I'm like the second person in my family to graduate from college. So, going after a master's degree was it wasn't something that I realistically saw for myself.
But after conversations with her family and reflection on the future, it all started to make sense.
It's like if you think that you have an opportunity to help someone, even if it's one person, even if it's a little tiny way, why would you not take that opportunity? If you feel like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, and one has the potential of even making your life or someone else's life the littlest bit better, I think that risk is always worth it.
For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Hari Srinivasan.